I don't know about you, but I gotta have my coffee first. Best part of the day. Alright, now I'm ready. What's up, guys? Jeremy here with another episode of J Phonography. You're probably wondering, did this guy just change his clothes like that? I mean, what happened? He's wearing a blue shirt now. Just a moment ago, he's wearing a black shirt. Well, long story short, I forgot that I had to go help out my father over at his father's house. We're cleaning out the whole place. So much stuff over there because we're going to put the house up on the market. So I had to come home, get cleaned up, throw on some new clothes, and here we are. All right, so today we're going to be talking about how to get cinematic footage with only your iPhone. No DSLR, no quick shot camera, no nothing like that. Just your phone. Now, I'm using the iPhone 7 Plus still, I know. But the way that I use cinematic footage with just using the iPhone is a application called Filmic Pro. This application does wonders. It's my go-to. It's my number one. But what you do is you want to go to the App Store on your phone, of course, and then download Filmic Pro. It's only a little bit of money. Honestly, I don't remember what I spent. I think it was $20 at the time. And then once you have the application, if you want to get even more technical with your footage, like working with your logs, your flat log, or even dynamic or natural log, you're gonna want to go into your application of Filmic Pro, and at the bottom left hand corner you'll see the three circles, and right there, this is what will show up first, which is your color temperature. It's gonna understand. Right now I'm just using this staring at my table, so it's going to be moving all over the place. But that's your color correction, and then you would go down to your log section. And whenever I'm inside, like now for example, for how you are seeing me, I'm using the flat log, because what that does is it uses more of the rawness of the lens itself, making it possible to make things easier in post-production. Your color grading, saturation, white balance, ISO. Well, not ISO. Well, yeah, I guess you could. But, yeah. And when you are, say, outside, you want to use log profile because it doesn't oversaturate as much in comparison to not using anything at all, or even the flat log. It's just I tend to find it easier to use color correction and all the toys with log profile when I'm outside. Dynamic and natural, that's if you just want everything kind of done already for you, and you can do some color changes in post, but you're going to be a little bit more limited. So that's what I use there for the more technical stuff. And then as for your color temperature, if I just point this at my table here, you'll see that the color temperature changes. And then at the bottom right of this box where AWB, auto white balance, is, you can lock it. You'll see it turns red. So now if I move it around, it's not going to try and readjust. But the second that I go to turn it off, it's going to change again. And of course you can change it however you want manually. But and at the bottom, you'll see that there's some pre-made presets. You got regular lighting. If you're outside, the sun. If it's a cloudy day, if you're using fluorescent lighting, and then you can A and B, whatever ones that you have set up. But usually what I do is I go to auto, and then once it finds whatever I'm looking at, whatever subject, scenery, landscape that I'm using, I have it adjust to that automatically for me. And then once it found it, then I just hit the auto white balance button to lock it and keep it in place so it doesn't change on me. So then, besides your log, besides your white balance, color temperature there, you also have this here. This will show your red, greens, and blues, how well they are showing in your picture. These I don't usually play a lot with, honestly, because I don't really know what to do with them. I understand there's saturation and vibrance. You can kind of tweak those to your liking. But those red, green, and blue on how they go kind of like back and forth a little bit, depending on what you're looking at. Of course, we know that your colors, you would want to keep them in the middle, but I'm not sure what to do with that. So I just leave that alone for now. All right, now, cinematic footage time. If you want to be able to record cinematic footage, there's basic rules involved. At the bottom right, you're going to see the little gear box. You go to click on that. You're going to want to go to the first box, which is your resolution. And in there, you'll see by default right now that I have it set at is HD 1080p Filmic Extreme. Filmic Extreme, that is your bit rate. So if I go to change that, if I go lower, you got Filmic Quality, Apple Standard, and Economy. You just want to crank that up as high as it will go, no matter what phone you use, whether it's an Android or whatnot. It will probably name it a little bit differently, but not much. All right, but then you got your HD 1080p. Now, if I go backwards, if I go down, you got your HD 720, SD 540. No one uses 540 or 720 anymore. 1080 is like the minimum that you want to use for YouTube, because everything now is just 4K. I'm sorry, it just is. But you can get away with 1080p, but you can like upscale it. So like if you record whatever footage you're doing in 1080p, you go into your post, load up your editor, you can upscale it to, you know, like 2x or 4K or whatever. And it will bump it up a little bit more. So you can get away with it. But the reason why they give us 1080p for your phones is because then you can change your frame rate a little bit more than as you would in 4K. But first, we want that cinematic footage. So let's bump this up all the way to 4K. And it shows 2160p Filmic Extreme for the bit rate. Now we get out of that, and as you can see, before I get out of that, at the top left I'm going 16:9. You can obviously change how you want it to look. 16:9 is the standard for your movie cinematic type. Frame rate, that's next. Or yeah, because I'm in 4K, the highest that I can go is 30 frames per second. And same with 30 frames per second for playback. But if you want that cinematic footage, you want to drop it down to 24K. And you want your 24K capture frames per second and your 24 frames playback per second. Yeah, that's a tongue twister right there. All right, so then after that, then if you're going to be needing audio, go to your audio and choose whatever kind of microphone you're going to be using, whether it's the front of the camera, the back of the camera, or if you have one plugged into your phone, it will recognize that. And because you are recording audio, when it comes to using video, you always want to use 48 Hertz. That's the standard. The typical one that we're used to seeing is the 44.1, but that's more just for like music production, not when audio is in video. It's a little bit different. So keep that at 48 Hertz. Then you have the choice of your format, PCM, AIF, or AAC. Lately, I just been using AIF, AIFF, because I'm an Apple user, so it works out better for me. Then if you scroll down, you got your Bluetooth microphone, if you have one plugged in. Well, not plugged in because it's Bluetooth. Automatic gain correction if needed. Video only if you're not going to be using any audio, save you some space on file size. Voice processing, haven't played with that, I'll be honest. I'm not too sure. I mean, we know what it means, but I don't know if it's any good. But I'm not having no doubts, just haven't tried it. So then once that is all set, you can go to your presets and click Save Current Setting as a preset. So then that way your 4K awesome settings is saved, and you can just touch of a button, well, not really a button, touch of the screen, and you hit that preset and it's all loaded up. Now 4K, like I mentioned earlier, you are limited with frames. So if you were to drop down from 4K to say 1080p, let's go back to the resolution. Drop it down to 1080p. Oops, went a little too fast there. 1080p, okay? We'll still keep it at 16:9. But now if you go over to your frame rate, you get more options. You get your minimum 24 frames per second all the way up to 120. So you want that B-roll footage, you know, that slow motion of whatever it is that you're trying to capture out there. So if you crank that up to 120 frames per second, you'll see it says 120 capture frames per second and 120 playback frames per second. Now, you can leave that by default, because then once you go in post-production, you will use your editor to slow down the footage yourself. But say you are in a bind, in a pinch, time is of essence, and you want it to be done automatically for you, you want your 120 capture frames per second, but the playback, you're actually going to drop that all the way down. I'm not going to do it, but you're going to drop it all the way down to 24 frames per second, because then it will already be in slow motion for you. A nice, smooth, slow motion. It wouldn't be like choppy because you're doing 120 frames per second. So that's how you do B-roll footage. So then obviously once you had that all set up and your color code and whether you wanted your flat log or any of that jazz, then you go to your presets and you save your preset and you name it B-roll, because then you can use that in normal speed, 120 frames per second, because it looks really smooth, or you can slow it down and there's your B-roll. All right, but before you go to actually go out there and record, you want to make sure that your focus points and your white balance, your ISO, is it white balance or is it your ISO? I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's one or the other, I know. But you want to make sure that that is where it needs to be. And then the nice thing is whatever it is that you are focusing on and wherever you want the light to be perfect, you can then lock each one just by touching them. And you can still move them around. It doesn't really matter after that because they're locked. But then once they're locked, then you should be good to go. Unless you're going to be doing a lot of movement or something, then you would want your focus box to be unlocked so that it will come in and out when needed to be. But yeah, that, guys, is how I do cinematic footage as well as B-roll footage. You got your 4K, 24 frames per second. You got your focus, everything all set up, saved as a preset cinematic footage. B-roll footage, I usually go 1080p and 120 frames per second, as well as playback, because I like to do it more in post-production instead of just having 24 frames playback from the phone already done up for you. But yeah, guys, I'm Jeremy. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, comment if this helped you out. If you have any suggestions, throw them at me. And please, guys, subscribe. It really does help, because I would like to take you guys on a journey that I am trying to do here with videography, photography, product reviews, and tutorials. All right, guys, until next time. Peace!